What would you say to black Republicans?
That they're dumb. They're like the Jewish Nazis that existed back in the day.
We're here at the Bernie Sanders rally where men have gathered with their wives and their wives' boyfriends to fight the alleged oligarchy. Let's go see what's happening. What brought you out here today to the Bernie Sanders rally?
I don't like what's going on in our country right now. I'm just kind of disgusted by it. We have a daughter that is Peruvian and Mexican. She's also bisexual, and she's also Muslim. So she's in a lot of marginalized communities, and we just want her to feel safe in this world, along with her husband. So,
yeah, I agree. Just to give more voice to opposing what's going on in our country right now.
What are you most concerned about with your daughter?
Her safety and his safety as well. He's actually Pakistani, so that's very scary for us. We just want him to be safe.
What's the biggest risk?
Oh gosh, what would you say, Dan? Well, I'll let you speak to that.
I don't know. I don't really care for the language that's being spoken right now in the country, and from top down, they just think that they can discard people without any due process, any rights that we've enjoyed in this country for the last 150 years.
Can you give any examples of specific language?
Let me think about that.
So many things, I don't even know where to start. I would say, oh gosh, Dan, help. This is negative, just everything's negative. And we come from a place of always helping underprivileged, or, we want everybody to be as equal as we can be in this country. I mean, that was the intent right from the start, and it's just veered very far away from that.
Would you say people aren't equal under the current administration?
No, they're not.
What's changed over the last couple months post-Biden administration for you guys?
Oh gosh. Once again, where do we start? You go for this one.
I think, just first of all the firing of all those federal employees, the defunding of sciences, the threat, or not threat, but the actual canceling of grants at our public schools and our public schools for research.
Do you want to see AOC run in 2028?
Personally, I do, but I think what we need is somebody that, this country isn't ready to elect a woman. They're just not. So I don't think that's the best candidate to put forward. I think she's a great voice for us, especially as women, and for people that are, I don't want to say underprivileged, that sounds awful. I'm trying to find the word. Oh gosh, marginalized people. Yeah, and I know that being a white person, I have that privilege, and so that makes me all the more want to help others, because I can. That sounds terrible, but
Do you think all white people have white privilege?
I do. And my daughter kind of has had to teach me about that, because at first I bucked that system. I was like, oh, but your father and I have worked really hard for everything we've gotten. She said, Mom, it's not about that. It's just about that systematic, oppression of certain peoples throughout this nation.
So would you say someone who grew up in maybe like a trailer park and as a white person still has white privilege?
Oh, God, that's so hard. You know how they might is if they're walking into a store, and my daughter's Latino because she's adopted, and for her to walk into a store, especially when she was younger, it's very different than when a white person walks into a store. Like, she had some discrimination, and we saw that. At first I was like, oh, I don't know if that's really happening to you.
What part of the country?
This was in California, and then in Bend, Oregon. Yeah, like we started doing things like you go in the store.
And these are kind of more progressive states.
Yeah. It happens all over, I mean, we're from here. We love it. We're glad we're here. But, so train of thought. I think, speaking of white privilege, Dan, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
About white privilege?
Yeah, and it's somebody in the trailer park. Do they have the same?
Yeah, well, I just think that they are able to walk anywhere they want to, and they're not going to have people staring at them or questioning, what are you doing here?
You don't think white people get questioned at all?
Oh,
Not as much. I don't think so.
not as much.
Yeah, I mean,
But some still do.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
if you're, I think an economic situation, yeah, if you're in Beverly Hills and you're in a golf resort, something, yeah, you may get questioned, what are you doing here? But I'm just talking about like generally in society, I don't think that you're going to come across uncomfortableness as much as people who are colored do.
So one of the first things we did when we got to this rally is we had to go through security where we emptied our pockets and our backpacks. And I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of surprised they don't just have an open gate policy where anyone can just come in. What brought you to the Bernie Sanders rally today?
Let's go for an easy one. The 9-0, the Trump ignoring the 9-0 Supreme Court ruling. Basically, he doesn't really believe in the courts or democracy. So Bernie Sanders does. And so I want to bring democracy back. I could go on for hours, but keep it simple. And it's an easy one there.
Who do you think is the current leader of the Democratic Party?
Nobody. Chuck Schumer is nominally in charge, but everyone kind of hates him. That's it.
Who do you want to see as the leader?
Bernie Sanders, AOC, and anyone of their ilk. Yeah.
Who would you like to see run in 2028?
At this point, there is no real frontrunner. Bernie Sanders would be the best. However, I don't know if he's up for it. Next best would be AOC. However, someone should emerge in between then and now, hopefully.
Why do you think the Democrats lost last November?
Oh, because they take bribes from the billionaires. They, just like the Republicans, take bribes from the billionaires. However, the Republicans are suckers and they believe what the billionaires say, whereas the Democratic voters, are stupid, but they have just enough brain cells to know that they're being deceived, and so they didn't show up. And that's why the Republicans constantly are very energized. They believe their billionaires' lies, whereas the Democrats are constantly very low energy because they know their billionaires are lying to them. Bernie Sanders doesn't take bribes from any of the billionaires, so we know he's actually not blatantly lying to our face.
What messaging would you suggest the Democrats go with to be more compelling to voter bases?
They need a simple tagline, and the tagline is, dead serious, tax the rich. That's all they need. And anyone who opposes that line, guess what? They're a tool. Everyone knows the billionaires pays less than the average person. They always take the money and they store it away in other countries. And they just take the money that they save from their tax breaks and use it to bribe politicians. A simple tax raise of tax the rich, put it on hats, put it on shirts, put it on billboards would be record-breaking. Tax the rich. Say it.
Where does the rich begin at?
Oh, you can go on that forever. Let's keep it simple for now. The billionaires. Also foreigners who have more than 500 million. Let's keep it simple.
So, billionaires, not millionaires.
Everyone in the United States worth 1 billion. Let's start there and then we'll work our way down. Keep it simple,
What tax rate?
We should do the progressive tax rate where your tax rate increases for every, I think it's $20,000 as you go higher. So the first $20,000 you get nothing, the second $20,000 you get higher, the third $20,000 you get higher, and so on and so on and so on. We used to do this in the 1950s. In the 1950s, we had the golden era. We need to go back to the 50s. That's the second catchphrase. Tax phrase number 1, tax the rich. Tax phrase number 2, back to the 50s. Bring our tax rates back to the 50s. We know it works. We know it works, and we know it works against fascism because it literally was a tax rate we used to kill the Nazis and to start our fight against the Stalinists.
Do you think the Democrats went too far with the woke ideology?
No, they didn't really care about it. They just used it performatively. Hillary Clinton went up. Hillary Clinton was against gay marriage until it was convenient for her. It's very similar to how Disney uses, fights racism. They do it when it's convenient. When it's not convenient, it's gone. The primary goals for the corporate Democrats is getting tax breaks for the rich so they can receive more donations for them. People like Bernie Sanders who don't take bribes, they actually care about minorities. They care about black people, blah, blah, blah. They don't want race riots because race riots come when minorities know they're getting...
You're saying you don't think Republicans care about black people?
Oh yeah, they hate them. They hate them. They love using them as a cudgel.
What would you say to black Republicans?
That they're dumb. They're like the Jewish Nazis that existed back in the day. They're like gay Republicans. They're like trans...
Do you think Ben Carson, the doctor, is dumb?
Yeah. If you've ever seen the movie Django, you have your house, let's call them slaves. You have your house slaves, and you got your field slaves. and they pit the two groups against each other. It's very simple. Republicans, or rather, the Conservative Party in the South has been using the fear of black people to suppress white people since before slavery existed, and they do it to this day. Obviously, back in the day, it was the Democrats because they were the Southern racists, and then the party flipped in the 80s, blah, blah, blah.
What do you think about biological men competing in women's sports?
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. How many biological men are competing in sports? I think it's like 20? Literally 20. This is an example. This is an example of culture war and conservatives using the house slaves versus the field slaves.
And we're standing here with the millionaires and the billionaires and all the fascists and the oligarchs, and they're ruining this country. Well, I'm standing here with
Alexis Claiborne.
And you were telling me you're running for Congress.
Yes, I'm running for California District 23 in the 2026 midterm elections.
Okay, and what county is that?
Mostly San Bernardino County. It covers parts of LA County and parts of Kern County as well.
What brought you out here to the Bernie Sanders rally today?
Honestly, it just feels really, really inspiring to be around so many people that have the same values and want the same change that I do.
Who do you think is the current leader of the Democratic Party?
I think AOC. I think she should be, at least.
Would you like to see her run for president in 2028?
I would love to see her run for president in 2028.
What do you think is the best policy AOC has had passed?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Why do you think the Democrats couldn't win last November?
I think that there is a lot of division within the Democratic Party, and I think oftentimes Democratic leaders move away from the far left ideologies and policies to try to meet people in the middle rather than staying true to their base and staying true to what the people want.
What messaging would you offer the Democrats to be more compelling to more voter bases?
Find your spine and stand up to the fascism that is taking over our country and our democracy right now.
Do you think woke is dead?
I don't think it's dead, no.
Where do you think it goes from here?
I think that from here, as a Democratic Party, we can lean into this and we can uplift the wokeness, right? And talk about the pathway to all of these policies and things that most of us here and in this state and in this country actually want to see, and kind of move away from these identity politics that we're seeing.
Now, you live in California, as do I. Gavin Newsom recently said on a podcast with Charlie Kirk that the transgender debate in sports was like an issue of fairness. How do you feel about biological men competing in women's sports?
I personally would ask anybody that is asking about trans women in sports, ask them to name 6 female athletes, because nobody gave a shit about, sorry.
You can say whatever you want. We're fully uncensored.
Okay. Nobody gave a shit about female athletes or women's sports until the transgender issues started coming to the forefront of it.
But you yourself, how do you feel about it despite asking anyone else?
I myself feel that it's 12 people that people are super upset about, and I don't think that we should be upset about that. I think that we have bigger fish to fry, and that we should be focusing on closing these tax loopholes for corporations and making sure that the ultra-rich and corporations are paying their fair share rather than these identity politics.
So you're saying trans women should be allowed to compete in sports?
Yes.
If you had to give Trump credit for one good thing that he's done, what would that be?
Honestly, I do not like Trump, right? I think that he paved the way for people like me to get into office because he's not a politician, and that's what the people wanted, and that was clear in the 2024 election. And I think that that paves the way for people like myself to enact change in our federal government.
What brought you out here today to the Bernie Sanders rally?
You know, I saw there were a lot of artists I like and respect showing up for here, and I thought it was really cool to see people that align with my values showing up for this thing that I believe in.
Do you think woke ideology is dead?
I don't think woke ideology is like a real terminology. I think it's like a fake it's a fake word that's being thrown around that doesn't really mean anything.
What do you think people mean when they say it?
I think they mean black people shouldn't have rights. Queer people shouldn't have rights. Anyone standing up for any kind of...
You think a black person who says, who talks about the woke ideology thinks black people shouldn't have rights?
I think if you've got a black person using the term woke ideology, like straightforwardly, that black person probably isn't standing up for actual liberation or equality. All the black people I know using that word don't even use it anymore because it's been co-opted so heavily by the right, just any shill or grifter trying to get a buck.
How do you feel about biological men competing in women's sports?
I don't think that happens, really.
You don't think it's happened at all?
I don't think that happens.
Leah Thomas, the swimmer?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot we could get into about that, but I'm not about to go down the biological men thing, trans women or women, period.
What brought you out here to the Bernie Sanders rally?
Just the despair of the last few weeks, the craziness of the White House, wanting something different, wanting something better.
What do you think is the worst thing the Trump administration has done so far?
Where do I start? I mean, what he's done to the students of this country by kicking them out of the country, their visas, going after them, what he's done to the national park system. I mean, I can go on for hours.
Do you believe America should combat white privilege?
I think people should be aware of white privilege. I don't know if we combat it, but people should be aware that, yeah, I mean, if you're white and yes, there is a lot of privilege that goes along with that.
So once they have the knowledge, what should they do?
Just be aware, and I think the biggest thing in the United States, if you're aware and you put yourself in other people's positions, people who walk in different shoes, I think that shows in life, and then you can have a better understanding.
But once you're aware, how do you actively, implement it and change your life?
With compassion and with understanding, that's what you do. Yeah.
What brought you out here to the Bernie Sanders rally today?
Well, the Metro brought me out here, but I'm here because of Bernie, AOC, and I'm just sick and tired of what's happening to our country in Washington, and I'd like to see people get together like this and make a change and go the other way.
What do you think is the worst thing the Trump administration has done so far?
Well, they've tried to suspend the Constitution and turn us into a fascist nation.
How so?
For their own purposes. Well, look at all the things that have been eliminated that our government is doing for the people, that would then enrich the things that have been done that would enrich the billionaires. Musk and Trump are doing this for the billionaire elites that don't care about democracy.
Is there any specific examples?
Specific examples. I think a lot of the government departments that have been eviscerated, those are specific examples.
Any ones in particular?
Department of Justice,
Where did the Department of Justice go?
Sorry?
Where did the Department of Justice go?
Where did it go? It's still there, but it's been eviscerated. People have been fired, and the directors have been changed for Trump's purposes, Musk's purposes. Yeah. Which network do you represent, by the way?
I'm independent.
Okay, yeah.
Who do you think is the current leader of the Democratic Party?
That's one of the problems with the Democrats. We're Democrats and progressives, and we can't agree about anything because we're independent thinkers. We're not brainwashed. So there isn't really any one leadership. It's going in many different directions. That's why something like this is showing the synergy of all kinds of different groups gathering together to make a statement. That I appreciate. But, it's always been a problem with the left, so-called left, which is the center in this country. But
do you think woke is dead?
I don't think woke is a real thing. I think it's something that's made up by the extreme right wing, and they're, brainwashing people with stuff like that.
What do you think the right means when they talk about the woke ideology?
They have fear about a lot of things. It's been shown that scientifically people with Conservative views are much more likely to have a big amygdala. They're very afraid of a lot of things, and they react irrationally. So this idea that woke is something real, they irrationally respond to that, and they're brainwashed into thinking it's a real threat when it's not.
Do you think biological men should be able to compete in women's sports?
Well, I think that, that's a controversial thing. There are a lot of things that are controversial that we need to, really sit down.
What's your opinion on it?
I don't have an opinion. I don't even follow sports. But yeah.
You don't have to follow sports to have just like a human level opinion on it.
I don't care about the sports. As I said, I don't follow sports.
Do you have any kids?
I do not. If somebody is thinking at 5 or 6 years old that they're not the sex that their body is telling them they are, and they want to be expressing themselves in a different way according to what society says is a different gender, and they grow up to the point where they can actually have their body change that way in a rational way with, as many millions, thousands of people have done, and they live as a different so-called gender, I don't have a problem with that.
So you're saying you think kids should be able to transition?
Well, I don't think kids should transition. I think they should.
So they should wait till at least they're 18?
The right age, yes.
What's the right age?
Well, they can start, if they get the right kind of therapy.
Would teenagers be all right?
If they get the right kind of therapy that assures that this is something they really want to do. And then, yes, once they become adults, they can make that transition. And that's part of being a free American. You make a choice of what you want to do.
But obviously kids live under different rules. Like we can't tattoo kids until they're 18.
We can't what?
We can't tattoo.
I have hearing aids, I'm sorry.
Obviously kids live under different rules than adults, than free Americans. We can't even allow kids under 18 to get tattoos without, they're not allowed to get tattoos until they turn 18.
I don't know that. That's something you're telling me. I've never heard of that. But
you don't know people can get tattoos and they have to wait till they're 18?
I'm not tattooed. I have no interest in tattooing. I think it's stupid, but...
well, they have to wait until they're 18 to buy cigarettes.
Didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
Cigarettes, yes, I know that. But what's the point of that?
They have to wait until they're 18 to make decisions.
Cigarettes are dangerous.
Do you think transitioning kids is dangerous?
No. As I tried to explain, you have to go through a process over several years and make sure it's the right thing according to what the experts, the people who are professionals, doctors determine.
We've had a nice morning here at the Bernie Sanders rally, met a lot of nice people, and I think what we've learned is a lot of the people here think Trump has done a lot of terrible things, but when asked for specific examples, they kind of struggle to come up with them. I'm Willie Nelson. Don't forget to subscribe to me on YouTube, follow me on Instagram, follow me on X. All the links are in the description.